Sugar and foods high in sugar. Refined carbohydrates, though a familiar part of many people's daily diets, are one of the silent contributors to the damage they do to the knee joints of the elderly. Once consumed, these refined carbohydrates, like white flour, white rice, or white noodles, are quickly broken down into sugar, causing blood sugar levels to spike. This is the root cause of chronic inflammation inside the body, one of the key factors leading to the weakening of cartilage and joint fluid. Over time, these inflammatory reactions cause the knee cartilage, which serves as a protective cushion between the bones, to wear down, no longer effectively reducing friction and bearing load. As a result, the elderly frequently experience joint pain, stiffness, and difficulty moving, especially in the early morning or when there is a sudden change in weather. Not only does it cause inflammation, but refined carbohydrates also contribute to weight gain, one of the direct pressure factors on the knee joints. In older adults, the metabolic rate and energy burning significantly decrease. If refined carbohydrate rich foods are consumed regularly without sufficient physical activity, the body easily stores excess energy as fat. Every additional kilogram of weight adds pressure to the knee joints, which in turn faces a much greater load during everyday activities like standing, walking, or climbing stairs. Furthermore, visceral fat produces many inflammatory substances, worsening and prolonging joint pain. The more refined carbohydrates consumed, the higher the risk of obesity, diabetes, and joint degeneration, a chain reaction that elderly people should be particularly aware of. In addition, reliance on refined carbohydrates leads to deficiencies in fiber, vitamins, and minerals that are essential for overall health and the skeletal system. These types of carbohydrates almost entirely lack the bran and germ of the grains, which contain many valuable nutrients. This deficiency can hinder the body's recovery abilities, slow down cartilage and bone regeneration, and delay healing of joint tissues. In contrast, complex carbohydrates like brown rice, oats, or whole grains provide a rich amount of fiber, helping to regulate blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and support metabolic processes, thereby providing long lasting benefits to joint health. Therefore, to protect the knees and improve quality of life in later years, elderly individuals need to be fully aware of the dangers of refined carbohydrates and gradually change their eating habits. Shifting to healthier carbohydrate sources not only helps control weight, reduce inflammation, but also supports maintaining flexibility and endurance of the joints, particularly the knee joints, the most pressured joints during daily activities. A smart and scientific diet is the first key to opening the door to a healthy old age, the freedom to walk, and living fully every moment with family and friends. Refined carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates, although familiar in the daily diet of many people, are one of the silent causes that gradually erode the health of the knee joints in the elderly over time. These types of carbohydrates are often stripped of most of their fiber, vitamins, and minerals during processing, leaving behind a pure form of starch that rapidly increases blood sugar levels once consumed. When blood sugar spikes, the body releases insulin to balance it, but it is this strong and continuous fluctuation that causes many problems for the musculoskeletal system, including the inflammatory response, a key factor leading to cartilage degeneration and joint damage. The elderly already have a weakened immune system and slower regeneration abilities. So, when inflammation occurs, the body cannot recover quickly, causing the knee joints to become progressively weaker, stiffer, painful, and less flexible. Walking, climbing stairs, and even standing up or sitting down gradually become burdensome, creating a constant worry in daily life. It doesn't stop there. Refined carbohydrates are also a primary cause of rapid weight gain, and older adults often struggle to control their weight due to a decline in metabolism with age. Every additional kilogram of body weight adds significant pressure on the knee joints, which bear the entire body weight when standing, walking, or performing any other movement. Over time, this overload leads to cartilage wear, causing the bone ends to rub directly against each other, resulting in severe pain and loss of natural flexibility. The prolonged, dull, aching pain not only makes the elderly fatigued and disrupts their sleep quality, but also discourages them from moving, leading to inactivity, a loss of joint flexibility, and thus creating a vicious cycle between joint pain, lack of movement, weight gain, and worsening joint pain. The danger of refined carbohydrates is not only manifested in clear physical symptoms, but also in the subtle weakening of internal health. When the body lacks fiber, a component almost entirely removed in refined carbohydrates, the digestive process becomes less effective, making it difficult for essential nutrients for joint health, like calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D, to be optimally absorbed. At the same time, the ability to eliminate toxins and reduce inflammation naturally is also severely impacted. This causes the elderly to be more susceptible to metabolic disorders, toxin accumulation in tissues, and makes joint cartilage more vulnerable and slower to heal when facing injuries or infections. As a natural consequence, aging combined with a diet rich in refined carbohydrates accelerates joint degeneration, a condition that not only causes physical pain, but also robs one of the freedom, joy of movement, and independence in daily life. Therefore, understanding the harmful effects of refined carbohydrates and gradually changing the diet is crucial if one wants to protect knee health and the entire musculoskeletal system as they age. Switching to healthier sources of carbohydrates, rich in fiber and nutrients, not only helps regulate blood sugar, reduce inflammation, but also maintains stable body weight, supports the knee joints, and reduces strain on them. This journey requires patience, determination, and understanding, but every steady step in that journey is a step towards safeguarding health, freedom, and dignity in old age, so they can live their later years without the burden of illness, but instead with lightness, peace, and freedom in every step. Fried foods. Fried foods are an enticing part of culinary culture, but are the silent enemy to knee joint health, particularly in the elderly. As people age, the musculoskeletal system begins to weaken, the regeneration of joint cartilage slows, and the amount of joint fluid, which lubricates and reduces friction between the bone ends, decreases over time. Meanwhile, fried foods, due to their high content of unhealthy fats, particularly trans fats and oils that have been reused multiple times, promote inflammation in the body, accelerating the destruction of cartilage and directly impacting the structure and function of the knee joint. This is why many elderly individuals often experience more joint pain, increased difficulty moving, and even swelling, redness, or stiffness in the joints, especially in the early morning after consuming oily foods. The danger lies in the fact that the harmful fats in fried foods not only lead to weight gain, a concern that elderly individuals must be cautious about, but also infiltrate every cell, promoting the accumulation of visceral fat and the formation of free radicals. These free radicals are responsible for damaging cells, particularly in cartilage and bone tissues, thus worsening joint degeneration. When these damages are not repaired, they continue to weaken the knee's supporting structure, which is already compromised by age, causing the elderly to face not only persistent pain, but also the potential loss of mobility if inflammation spreads. They may have to rely on a cane, use a wheelchair, or even lose their independence in personal activities. A heartbreaking reality, but one that can be prevented with timely dietary adjustments. Fried foods also hinder the body's metabolism. When cells are saturated with harmful fats, the immune system becomes disrupted, and the self repair and regeneration of cartilage tissue are stifled. These factors lead to the gradual weakening of the knee joint, not only from the pressure of body weight, but also because the internal environment no longer supports the recovery and nourishment of the joints. In older adults, this results in the gradual wearing down of cartilage, a silent but relentless process occurring day by day, stealing flexibility, stability, and movement, and even the simple joy of being able to move freely, do tasks independently, and speak with confidence without the fear of pain. Therefore, reducing the consumption of fried foods is not merely a nutritional suggestion. It is a practical step toward preserving the quality of life in old age. It is a choice that reflects self love, the first step in the journey of protecting the legs that have borne a lifetime of effort. A healthier, lighter, and less oily diet may not provide the immediate allure of crispy fried dishes, but it is a subtle remedy that quietly nurtures the strength of the knee joints, helping the elderly continue to move confidently in the later years of life, free from the torment of physical pain, living with the freedom, autonomy, and peace they truly deserve after years of sacrifice. Salty food or foods high in sodium. Salty foods or those high in sodium have long been a common part of daily meals in many households, yet few realize that the habit of eating salty foods is a silent contributor to the weakening of the knee joints, especially in the elderly. As people age, the body becomes more sensitive to internal changes, including mineral and water imbalances, two essential factors for nourishing and protecting the joints. Sodium, when accumulated excessively in the body due to the continuous consumption of salty or processed foods, causes the body to retain more water, increasing pressure on the circulatory system and internal organs. This not only affects the heart and kidneys, but also leads to severe consequences for the musculoskeletal system, particularly the knee joint, which bears the entire body weight during everyday activities. The body's water retention due to excess sodium causes soft tissues around the joint, including ligaments and tendons, to swell and become inflamed. In the elderly, where the natural anti inflammatory process has significantly weakened, this makes the knee joint feel tense, sore, and difficult to move. Chronic inflammation gradually erodes the cartilage, which acts as a protective cushion between the bone ends, making each movement a painful struggle. In some cases, the pressure from water retention and inflammation can affect the joint structure, causing deformation, misalignment, and permanent loss of function. This means that the elderly may lose their flexibility and autonomy, and even face the risk of losing mobility if they do not carefully control their sodium intake. In addition to causing inflammation, excess sodium also directly affects bone density by increasing calcium excretion through urine. When calcium is excreted more than usual, bones become brittle, fragile, and prone to fractures, a particularly serious issue for older adults whose bone mass has already declined over time. The knee joint, one of the body's largest weight-bearing joints, will be the first and most severely affected. The elderly may begin to feel their knees weakening, walking becomes unsteady, and they often feel fatigued even after short distances. From there, the fear of falling, breaking bones, and being bedridden will gradually seep into their mental life, diminishing their quality of life, not just physically, but emotionally as well. For the elderly, each step is not merely a movement, but a manifestation of independence, dignity, and self confidence. A diet high in sodium gradually takes this away, weakening the legs that once courageously traversed through life's challenges. Reducing salt intake is not simply a matter of abstaining, but a practical action to protect joint health, nourish bones, maintain mobility, and preserve autonomy in the later years of life. It is not just about avoiding pain, but a choice to live a fulfilling old age, where each step remains steady, each movement gentle, and every new day opens with hope and profound peace. Red meat and processed meats. Red meat and processed meats have long occupied a significant place in many people's eating habits, thanks to their rich flavor and the feeling of fullness they provide. However, for the elderly, those who are facing the natural weakening of the musculoskeletal system, consuming too much of these meats can silently contribute to the gradual degeneration of the knee joints over time. This is because red meat and processed meats typically contain high levels of saturated fats, cholesterol, and especially compounds that promote inflammation in the body. This chronic inflammation process is a ruthless culprit, contributing to the damage of cartilage, the soft cushion that helps prevent the bone ends from colliding with each other during movement. When the cartilage wears down and loses its natural elasticity, each step becomes a burden. Simple movements become painful and difficult, and over time, this robs the elderly of the freedom to move, the foundation of an independent and peaceful life in old age. Frequent consumption of red meat and processed meats also affects the internal balance of the body, causing metabolic disturbances and the accumulation of uric acid, a waste product that, if not effectively eliminated, will crystallize into tiny crystals that accumulate around the joints, especially the knee joints. These crystals act like invisible needles, causing inflammation, swelling, and prolonged pain, creating a burning sensation and joint stiffness, particularly at night or early in the morning. When this process repeats over time, it not only limits the elderly's ability to move, but can also lead to joint deformity, muscle atrophy, loss of balance, and the risk of falling, an accident that could result in serious or permanent consequences in the later stages of life. Moreover, Processed meats also carry another alarming risk. They are often high in salt and industrial preservatives. These ingredients, when introduced into the body, not only raise blood pressure and cause water retention, but also negatively affect the body's ability to eliminate toxins, keeping the body in a state of internal stress, a condition particularly dangerous for older adults. The knee joint, already worn down over years of use, now bears additional internal stress, making it almost impossible for it to heal on its own. Pain persists, inflammation flares up repeatedly, and each step becomes an ordeal, robbing the elderly of their autonomy, confidence, and even the simple joy of life that they have preserved through many challenges. Old age is a time when individuals deserve to live slowly, peacefully, and savor every ordinary moment in calmness and tranquility. But to achieve this, the body, especially the legs, must be protected as a precious asset. Reducing red meat consumption and eliminating processed meats is not a sacrifice of flavor, but a wise and loving decision made for one's own well being. It is a way to nourish the knee joints, making each step no longer bound by pain, but light, graceful, and free. A healthy pair of legs is an invaluable gift in old age, one that allows a person to continue living as themselves, in independence, with simple joys, and with the full dignity of a life that has weathered many storms. High fat dairy products. High fat dairy products have long been considered a rich source of nutrition, providing abundant energy and appealing flavors. However, for older adults, those facing the natural degeneration of the musculoskeletal system, regularly consuming these products carries numerous risks that can negatively impact knee joint health, especially when the joints have already begun to show signs of wear, pain, or inflammation. Full fat milk, cheese, and cream often contain high levels of saturated fats and cholesterol. These components, when accumulated over time, not only contribute to uncontrolled weight gain, but also promote chronic inflammation inside the body, adversely affecting the soft tissues around the joint, damaging the cartilage, and disrupting the balance necessary to maintain flexible and sustainable joint function. For the elderly, where metabolism has slowed down, digesting and processing fat becomes far more difficult than in their younger years. When the amount of saturated fat from high fat dairy exceeds the body's capacity to metabolize it, it accumulates not only beneath the skin, but also in internal organs, around blood vessels, and most dangerously, at the joints. This is especially problematic for the knee joints, which are constantly under pressure from body weight and need to remain in motion for daily activities. When fat accumulates around the joint, inflammatory responses can easily flare up, damaging the cartilage, the protective cushion between the bones, causing it to wear down, lose elasticity, and ultimately lead to persistent pain, joint stiffness, and a reduced ability to move freely, issues that many older adults face every day. Furthermore, high fat dairy products may disrupt hormonal balance and influence the regulation of inflammation related hormones in the body. Some studies have shown that consuming full fat dairy products regularly may trigger a series of biochemical responses related to the immune system, causing the body to remain in a state of alert, even without a clear pathogen. As a result, the immune system may mistakenly attack healthy tissues, including cartilage and subchondral bone, leading to more severe joint inflammation and degeneration. When these damages accumulate over time without being addressed, older adults face the loss of their ability to care for themselves, becoming dependent on others for daily tasks, and gradually losing the precious independence they've maintained throughout their lives. Old age should be a time when individuals can enjoy tranquility and ease with each step, each movement, each morning waking up without the constant fear of joint pain. To achieve this, careful selection of food and drink, especially dairy products, is essential. Moderating the intake of high fat dairy is not about abandoning indulgent flavors, but a responsible and loving decision made for one's own health. Instead of continuing to fuel persistent pain with old eating habits, older adults can are healthier, lighter sources of nutrition to nurture their knee joints, the very foundation that has carried them through a lifetime. Preserving the strength of those legs is not only about maintaining physical health, but also about safeguarding dignity, independence, and the deep pride within a soul that has endured many ups and downs. Carbonated and alcoholic beverages Carbonated and alcoholic beverages, often seen simply as options for refreshment, relaxation, or socializing in everyday life, are in fact silent threats to the health of older adults, especially when it comes to aging knee joints that have borne the weight of years. As the body enters the twilight years, it loses the ability to recover as swiftly as in youth. Every small harmful factor from the outside can become a burden that accumulates over time. And among them, the regular consumption of carbonated alcoholic drinks is a major contributor to metabolic disruption, increased systemic inflammation, and the accelerated degeneration of joints, a silent but deeply painful danger for the elderly. These drinks, high in acid content and filled with various artificial additives, disrupt the body's acid alkaline balance, weaken the immune system, and hasten the breakdown of cells. For the musculoskeletal system, especially the knees, these effects are magnified as joints receive limited direct blood supply and rely heavily on the body's internal environment to regenerate tissues and synovial fluid. Carbonated drinks reduce calcium density in bones, promoting osteoporosis and making joint structures fragile and prone to damage. Meanwhile, alcohol interferes with liver function, the organ chiefly responsible for detoxification and regulating the body's inflammatory response. When the liver is overburdened and toxins accumulate, inflammation becomes severe and uncontrolled, turning weakened joints into prime targets for further harm. In older individuals, habitual or excessive consumption of alcohol also dulls the nervous system, reduces motor coordination, and significantly increases the risk of falling, an accident that can be catastrophic for joints already compromised by age. The loss of balance, combined with weakened physical strength due to poor nutrient absorption, makes every step feel heavier, less stable, and filled with risk. Not to mention that these drinks often replace plain water, the only substance capable of maintaining proper joint hydration, lubricating the knees, and supporting cartilage regeneration. Without sufficient hydration from clean water, synovial fluid thickens, friction increases, and even the slightest movements can become sharp, painful, and debilitating, gradually stripping away the joint's natural flexibility. In the depths of old age, where joy often comes from simple things, a morning walk, a slow step by the porch, or merely the ability to stand up unaided, protecting knee health becomes more precious than ever. No medicine can replace the wisdom of daily choices. Giving up soda, avoiding alcohol, and similar beverages is not a loss, but a wise and loving decision to preserve the greatest gift that old age can hold: independence, dignity, and the ability to live freely, unchained by chronic, piercing pain. For when the knees no longer ache, when the legs can still carry one into a new morning, life remains full of meaning, with so much left to live, to love, and to be grateful for. Old age, a chapter worth living. Old age is a chapter of life that every human being will inevitably pass through. A journey no longer marked by haste or intensity, but one filled with reflection, memories, and a profound sense of peace. At this stage, the most precious asset is no longer wealth or status, but health, especially the ability to move independently and care for oneself in order to continue living fully, freely, and with dignity. Among all aspects of the body, the knees, seemingly simple but fundamentally vital, serve as the bridge between physical well being and quality of life. As long as one's legs remain strong and knees flexible, the elderly can still enjoy the joys of walking, cooking a meal, stepping outside for fresh air, meeting friends, and savoring life on their own terms. But once the knees begin to ache, weaken, or fail to support the body, even the simplest activities can become overwhelming, or worse, devastating. Therefore, taking care of the knees in old age must never be taken lightly, and the most effective way to start is with the smallest things, namely the daily diet. Food is not just a source of energy. It can be either a loyal companion to health or a silent destroyer, depending on our choices. Common foods such as sugar, refined starch, fried items, salty dishes, red meat, high fat dairy, and alcoholic beverages may seem harmless, but they are slowly eroding cartilage, triggering inflammation, hindering tissue regeneration, and increasing the risk of joint degeneration, especially in the knees. This is a silent process, invisible at first, but by the time pain is clearly felt, it is often too late to return to how things were. We cannot rewind time and start over, but we can absolutely make adjustments in the present to shape a healthier future. Changing eating habits is not about giving up what we love, but about loving ourselves in a deeper and more responsible way. When the elderly make wise food choices, when they have the courage to say no to harmful temptations, they are giving themselves a chance to remain healthy, independent, and full of strength. No one else can do this for them because health, in the end, is always the result of repeated right choices, day after day. And remember, caring for your knees isn't just about preserving mobility, it's about preserving your way of life. It's the freedom to step out without fearing sudden pain, the confidence to squat down to prepare a meal, clean the house, or play with grandchildren without needing assistance. It is a quiet but powerful pride, the kind that says, even though age has caught up and storms have passed through this body, I still hold the reins of my life in every step I take. So cherish your body, honor your knees like trusted companions of a long life journey, and begin today with the right, loving, and consistent choices so that the golden years are not a retreat into darkness, but a beautiful, tranquil, and truly meaningful new chapter.